So, is Superman the best comic book movie of the year 2025? Is it the best Superman movie? Is Superman going to make $1 billion? The answer to all of this will be revealed soon, which is now. Maybe, yes, no. At the time of making this video, I have now seen Superman 3 times. I went once on the 8th for the Amazon Prime early screening, once on the 10th for the opening IMAX fan event, and once with my homie this past Thursday, and I'll be going soon again to see it with my mom because we all need to go spend more time with our moms if we are lucky enough to still have them. Now, I went dappered up in my Superman with the OG royal blue flavored shirt. And quick tip, if you're buying from the DC shop, you might want to go a size up, since if you get the regular size you wear, like a medium, I find you get like a Hot Topic sleeve situation going on where the body fits great, but your sleeves are ridiculously too small. Get a large, and with one wash and dry, that bitch will be perfection. I have my Superman cap, I got my ass Sour Patch Kids, big old popcorn that I absolutely slugged out with butter and salt, and a Monster energy drink. There were so many people there in Clark Kent cosplay wearing Superman merch. There was even a dude who had asked me if I had a drink because I guess he bought an extra drink for some reason, and I thought I left my Monster back in the lounge and he was just letting me know, but he was actually offering me a cup, and I had to show him the Monster that was hiding in my armpit. But I was like, even something as little as that was so damn nice, the Superman effect. But we all get our asses in the theater. Once it opened, the showing was supposed to start at 7, but to my utter dismay and the dismay of everyone, it started 40 minutes after. I had already worked through most of my popcorn and Sour Patches, hadn't even cracked open the Monster since I wasn't trying to go pee. I was in the middle of 2 people who knew each other. We got no trailers, and to make it even worse, the projector started on the Nicole Kidman ad, but the movie was shown, and on that Tuesday, I left liking it. I thought I would like it a lot more, love it even, but truthfully, I thought the pacing for the movie was quite fast, and I felt we didn't have enough time with some of these characters, but ultimately, they were all incredible depictions of their comic counterparts and are now, without question, my definitive live action versions. I left feeling like this was definitely the best Superman movie, but also that I did feel that Thunderbolts was clearly a better film, which I've been extremely confident that Superman would be the best comic book movie of 2025 because of Superman, well, being Superman, the iconic character that he is, having all the cachet that comes with that, and with James Gunn being able to bring scenes like this and all of his other projects, which Superman at this point desperately needed. I thought it definitely beat the Bob Hug, but I didn't feel that way first go around. Now, when I went on Thursday, it was almost astonishing how things had changed. I had more than gotten used to the pace, and I was able to soak up all the emotions, themes, plot points, and I came away really loving the movie. Like, I had a big stupid grin on my face leaving the theater that day I did not have on Tuesday. They also were handing out issue 1 of All-Star Superman with the Dan Mora, David Cornsweet cover. Very sick. But enough of my theater experiences. Let's start getting into everything. Spoiler warning, of course. So the movie opens with the text explaining briefly the universe, how metahumans first appeared 300 years ago. Superman is 30 and has been active as Superman for 3 years. 3 weeks he stopped the war between Baravia and Jor-El. 3 hours ago, the Hammer of Baravia came to Metropolis to fight Superman. 3 minutes ago, Superman lost for the first time. So we start with the Yamcha, the low point. He just got his ass whooped for the first time by the Hammer of Baravia. Everything that we've already seen with the crash landing, Fortress of Solitude, and Crypto is the beginning of the movie, with the exception that when Superman gets healed, a projection of his parents, Jor-El and Lara, speak in Kryptonese to him, to which the robots translate what was left of the message, as part of it was damaged in transit, and this helps soothe him. I knew it was going to be Bradley Cooper, but it's such another thing to actually see it happen. And his mother, played by Angela Serafian, who might be an actual angel, and it was nice to hear Palm as a Superman robot say, "Our poor Superman." I can't quite remember what the whole message was, but essentially, we love you, son, more than heaven and land. We picked Earth out so you could do the most good. And you really get a sense of the significance for not only the words, but this process. This is where Superman goes. A history is established very quickly and effectively, but he goes back to Metropolis, and the Hammer just continues the ass whooping and blames Superman for intervening in Baravian affairs, which is mostly the invasion of Jor-El, a nation that has less strength to defend itself, that Superman, being the champion of the oppressed, saw fit to intervene in this blatant bullying. So people let him know that maybe he shouldn't have done that because he caused this retribution. Luckily, Mali, the falafel man, had Superman's back here, and it turns out that Lex and his crew have been studying Superman's moves and basically used the Hammer like a Mortal Kombat character, just feeding him combos to hit against Superman. We find out quick it's actually Ultraman under there, and I really love all the sun that was coming in during this whole sequence. violence, the light leaks were elite, and although the action didn't last long, there was a noticeable dynamism that made it worthwhile. Also, very plainly, the action isn't as much or on the same level as Man of Steel, which is peak Superman action, but it's extremely creative and satisfying. Also, the Hammer of Baravia's armor was two things: sick and thick as fuck. It looked like one of those intricate professional cosplays in the absolute best way possible. I love the smoky metal texture. Lex's future power suit, no doubt. Only a quick stop at the Daily Planet to establish that crew, and unfortunately, that's all the Clark Kent we really get in the movie, but we get some of our greatest pillars, which are the Kents, via an adorable call from Ma Kent. If you have older parents, you know that phones are basically their enemies, so this was all too accurate, congratulating Clark on his story and telling him, don't be a stranger. Come through to Kent Farm. We actively want to see you, son that we love. God, I love love. This also builds the Baravian conflict up with the Baravian leader making a fuss about Superman for, well, wanting him to stop killing innocent people who have no equivalent force response. Surprising how difficult that concept is for some people. Less surprising was that he was in league with Lex the whole time. We get the full Lois Lane Superman interview, and it was divine. I love how the sequence starts with Clark and Lois just all over each other, and then she presses and prods him in all types of Pulitzer Prize winning ways, and he slips. He's not perfect. He gets things wrong. He shows his emotions and his thought process. Little things like not even bothering to figure out the recorder like an actual real human being. Lois questions every angle because she knows that's what the world will do, and Superman doesn't really have the answers for everything, but he knows what's right. Maybe it's not something of a rebuttal he can quite articulate, but his feelings guide him. The whole interview is like, I get that, but we all know what the fuck it really is, so why pretend? Which I really love. This movie kind of says that with its chest, with its blatant real world parallels, and it makes sense that Superman would use his powers in that way if he was real or, live action. It's also sad that he loves Lois so damn much and she's not so sure about him. And if you ever hear one of those ad libs, I was never good at relationships, then focus on yourself, bro. You're not Superman. You can't come back from that. All the while, since the beginning, Lex sent the engineer to find the fortress, and I'm sure discovered that it only presented itself when coming in contact with Kryptonian DNA. So when he breaks in, he gets a hold of Jor-El's message, and the engineer is able to pull the rest of the message that was damaged. And I do like that the engineer acknowledges how she sacrificed her humanity for Lex's mission, but I do wish we got more from her and on why she was so compelled to do so and to have that type of conviction. She also looks very live-wiry in the Fortress of Solitude, but they get the full message and they dispose of Crypto. Diabolical as it was gross, we finally get to see the Kaiju fight, and it just further exemplifies who Superman is. He's saving dogs, children, checking to see if civilians are okay, saving someone, calming them down, and relishing in the fact that they are now safe. David did such a good job with these tiny short moments of expression that reinforced the core of Superman. Saving squirrels, even wanting to save the Kaiju, big or small, life is precious to him, which is important as hell to be able to display. We get our first look at the Justice Gang, and they're pretty dope. The costumes are still not the best, except for Mr. Terrific, but they've grown on me. Kendra did her thing, Terrific got the job done ultimately, and Guy was the wise ass I needed him to be. I will say I found the flight a bit jarring, and honestly, I really do want Lanterns to have a green aura. Maybe that's a space travel thing. Did feel like that was lacking, but Nathan Fillion got Guy down perfectly. I also love the feeling I got from Superman in this part of the movie, because it's one thing to fell the beast, but then you got to deal with the fall. And I think that's an energy that they got extremely correct in this movie, despite even the times where Superman gets beat up in the beginning. Like, you're so damn glad he's here, because when the Kaiju was about to fall in the building, I was, and I'm sure that everyone was in that building, so relieved when they saw that beautiful Cape Crest. So damn glad that Superman was there. And when the Kaiju dies and falls, I was so damn glad that Superman was there to move it and stop it from crushing anyone. It's different, of course, but you have someone like Thor in Age of Ultron who's trying to stop Sokovia from falling, and he should technically be strong enough to stop that, but you still kind of worry. With Superman, as soon as I saw him catch the Kaiju, I was like, oh yeah, thank goodness we got Superman. Of course he can handle this. Zack did a great job of that in the Snyder Cut with Superman. To capture that relief is paramount, and I'm glad Gunn did that so early. That's when Luthor releases Jor-El's full message, basically telling Kal to restart Krypton by banging multiple Earthwomen and rule over them by force, which they are doing this whole My Adventures with Superman thing of making the Kryptonians evil, which I believe there are comics that reference this, but I haven't poured into those specifically yet. Lex, Terrific, all of the smarts essentially confirm that message to be real, not doctored. Now, people have their theories on this. Gunn has already come out and completely shut it down and said it's real. But the annoying fan in me, I really do think this is going to be kind of flipped on its head at some point. I ultimately want Jor-El to be redeemable, so I get why people have an issue with it. I think the movie deliberately makes an effort to tell you it's real so that Clark can have the arc he does and realize that he is not some predetermined purpose. He is his actions and his choices. But I do think there will be further extrapolation on this. Then he finds out the fortress has been trashed and crypto has been taken. We do get a nice little peacemaker moment, which was hilarious as hell. Cena got such a big pop in my theater. So many people were just clapping, and it could have been just because, you know, it's John Cena and he was funny as hell. They're all obsessed with me because I'm more jacked than them. Perfect douchebaggery. We finally know what this whole scene was about, and it seems it was a statement about this universe. If it wasn't already apparent with people taking pictures of Kaiju, this kind of shit just happens in this universe. So an interdimensional imp is not something so dire that Superman needs to concern himself with, and it's a great backdrop. This also was a statement about the Superman, which was perfect. Talking about his favorite bands that he thinks are edgy, to which Lois immediately checks him on that, how he sees everything and everyone as beautiful, and how that was the new punk rock. And when I heard that, I thought it was corny as hell. But that's kinda Superman, and what I would think coming from such a cynical, just dark, grim world. It's infinitely easier to hate on shit, to find flaws in everything, as if we're all scared to really like something so as to not leave us exposed to damage from those that would think the opposite. Superman is saying, I'm not afraid to be who I am or like what I like. They only put an exclamation on this when he tells Lois he's going to turn himself in because they might take him to where they're keeping crypto, and when she asks why, it's just a dog, he replies with, yeah, and he's not even a very good one, but because he might be alone and probably scared, he is going to go and put himself in this danger for that. That's all I needed to hear. This is the Superman. He doesn't really know where they'll take him, but this horrible dog might be alone and scared, and he puts himself at the mercy of his biggest op for this dog. That is Superman incarnate. So Lex puts him in his pocket universe prison with all the other mofos that have slighted him and orders Metamorpho to slowly kill him with kryptonite, only because Lex also has baby Joey, Rex's kid. Superman tries to appeal to Rex's humanity, but Rex won't risk it, of course, until Lex forces it to come out by shooting Mali in the head. And I was stunned that they actually went for this, but this reveals their heroic souls as they both start to cry at such a display of apathy towards life. This is what it's all about here, okay? Superman actually cares. I love how this movie says that with its chest. Rex cuts the kryptonite, locks in, and creates a pseudo sun, and that was this moment here. Baby Joey gets saved. Well, kinda. They had to first get past an anti-proton cube river, the raptors, and a damn black hole. And this was such a chaotic scene because Superman is holding baby Joey up from the river, protecting him against the raptors, and then trying to protect himself. And Superman's like not at full power. All the while, a huge crux of the movie is that Jimmy Olsen is a Riz Lord and has the ire of all the baddies and Lex's main Eve Tessmacher, and so she lets Jimmy know Superman is trapped in a pocket dimension. So Lois tries to reason with the Justice Gang to help. The Hall of Justice, there's a mural, and there's a bunch of beasts in that mural that tell you that James Gunn, if again the body of work, right, didn't tell you he was perfect for this job as head of DC Studios, then that mural just tells you all you need to know. This man is plotting. But Guy basically says they can't risk the heat getting involved in Baravia. Terrific is the only one that agrees to help Lois, and Eddie Gathegi goes complete beast swag mode against the Raptors and Lex's scientists. I can't stop listening to 5 Years Time. He's just one punch knocking out a bunch of dudes and just showing how formidable he is combat wise. Talk about redemption. He opens up the portal to the pocket dimension and is able to help Guy, Clark, and Metamorpho out of it, which it's an awesome sequence where he's able to save everyone from the black hole with frost breath, and I'd imagine whatever flight he had left in him. And it's so outrageous because when Terrific says the river would tear him and Lois apart, it raises the danger level as if it wasn't already high enough, but it's so crazy. Then you realize if anyone could do that, it's Superman, which I loved. Clark was even inclined to go back in to save the rest of the people, but he was too hurt. That type of concern was just beautiful to see, and he gets taken back to Kent Farm, and we get a sweet little moment between him and Jonathan Kent. Clark is obviously still reeling from the full message of his parents that was hugely influential on his superheroism and sense of self, and to find out it took such a bad turn really rocked his foundation, but his found father helped get him back on his feet, letting him know parents aren't for telling kids who they are. They're here to give you the tools to eventually figure that out, and he lets him know how proud he is of him, and it's not complicated. People complicate this type of shit. It's simple. It can be so simple, and when it's simple, it's effective as hell. Lex eventually finds out about the escape, so he opens the portal to lure Superman back to Metropolis and takes out his frustration on Eve, causing her to send more incriminating evidence to Jimmy, which he relays to Lois, and she has the proper mental faculties to put all the pieces together that I imagined Eve was sending those images for. Luthor was working with Baravia to try to get some of that land, but it's more so now they have something tangible to use against Luthor in the court of public opinion, as well as with the law. Eve is definitely the unsung hero here, but with the second wind, Soup sees Baravia going forward with their invasion, and Mr. Terrific warns him about the portal, and we get back into the fray. Superman heads back to Metropolis to save people in Aura Farm, taking on the Engineer and Ultraman, and I love how he takes the time to say there's still time to change, they don't need to listen to Luthor, and this is also moments before he uses Angie like a ragdoll mallet, but Lex has her go Spider-Man 3 on him and envelop him in her nanites, and so he responds by flying up into the atmosphere, even dealing with the blows they were landing on him to try and stop him, all to set up a primary Lotus from space, which took out the Engineer, and when we get back to Earth, we get the reveal that Ultraman was in fact a clone, and I bet David loved that wig and felt so much like Anakin Skywalker. The BTS of this is gonna go so damn hard, but Lex starts feeding him moves, and the action again, it's not the same as Man of Steel, but it's extremely dynamic and creative. The moves that are being pulled off, there are kicks, spins, twists, rolls, and angles that are being hit that are unique and sensational. Like shooting laser beams directly into another person's eyes is pretty hardcore. And when Superman does turn the tide and calls Crypto to destroy the cameras, leaving Ultraman just a dumb clone, Soups was hitting crazy moves on him, and damn, I love the slow-mo shot, the way the look-up music swells and the Raptors coming in to attempt to overwhelm Superman, and he hits them with the old washing machine trick, followed by the laser cyclone. Just fucking awesome. All the while, right, the Baravian army was moving in on the Drahanporians. The kids who are crying out for Superman are falling back, but that one boy did not give up hope, and just before the monster was about to shoot the innocent child, because, well, that's what monsters do, the innocent child gets his upgrade of Guy Gardner, dismantling the Baravian army with backhands and middle fingers, Metamorpho joining in, Hot Girl killing Gurkos as she should, Lois and the Daily Planet crew putting out the story that will show Lex's crimes, all culminating with Superman overcoming an armbar and Ultraman getting tossed into the black hole. That's pure setup for Bizarro, okay? Lex getting shoulder checked by Superman and Terrific stopping the rift to a very beautiful and authentic speech. Superman might be an alien, but he was raised on Earth as a human by loving parents, just as human as anyone else. He makes mistakes and he doubts himself, but he doesn't let that stop him. Despite being so powerful, he is not perfect, but he persists because he's human, and that's his greatest strength. And he tells Lex, for the sake of the world, I hope you see that's your greatest strength too. Lex did all the shit he did because he felt Superman's existence was a direct attack on his sense of self and worth, a constant echo of what he can never be no matter what, which his envy monologue went so incredibly hard. But I love how even after everything, Superman is trying to appeal to Lex's humanity. That is Superman. I love the sun just pouring in, and then Lex getting what was coming to him for all the shit he pulled, especially with Crypto. I heard some people felt this undercut the speeches, but I honestly can't see how. The impact was lasting, and especially the stare down, Lex tearing up from getting exposed. Like, David looked incredible here, and the energy was palpable. We of course get a beautiful floating kiss with Lois finally telling Clark she loves him back, and damn, this is the only time this meme will not be applicable. Kara comes through to get Crypto. Craig Giuseppe is going to kill it next year. Do not sleep on Supergirl, and we get Superman looking up old footage of him and his parents, and punk rocker playing. God, so sweet. Superman ending with him looking up, smiling, and sun washing over the frame. Just beautiful. And it's true, there is so much to look up to and look forward to. So as far as cons go, the pacing, especially towards the beginning, can be quite jarring. I think people have been describing it as a very comic book movie because it throws you right into the action, and it's not concerned with setting every little thing up. We are in a lived world. Supervillains and monsters are regular. I'm not sure in a live action context we've quite had that, at the very least not to this degree, but I can see how that would be an issue for people. It was for me at first, but after repeat watches, it completely dissolved for me. I do also think it's the case that we don't get to spend enough time with certain places and people. I love the Fortress of Solitude. It's such a beautifully designed place, but we don't really spend too much time there, and we don't get to explore much else of it. That goes for the Daily Planet also. We get realistically one scene with Clark Kent there, and then bits and pieces later on, and I really ended up loving the Justice Gang, especially on repeat watches, but it also feels like if we did not have them, we could have spent more time with the Daily Planet crew and spent more time on specifically Superman's corner of the DCU. But I felt realistically, Gunn was like, okay, not only can I put all these characters in the movie to set up all this stuff for the future, I can service all of that just enough so that they have reason to be there, people will like them, and in this essentially 2-hour window, we can play this movie hella times, making chingos of dollar bills. Obviously, this takes confidence and skill, and luckily for Gunn, it paid off. Guy was brash, a douchebag, but that gets offset with him coming through, saving a kid from a monster, which besides him looking and being hilarious, he served that purpose. Hot girl barely had any time really, and we did get to know her, but she still comes through to kill Gurkos. Terrific, not only kills the Kaiju, but has an incredibly sauced out sequence, but ultimately stops the rift. Metamorpho knew Superman for 6 seconds, but due to their shared humanity, he helped Superman escape and was inspired by Superman's legacy to help really all the Justice Gang is. Everyone had their moments to shine and a purpose, so although we don't get to dig too deep on them, the first layer we see is satiating enough that we will definitely want to see more, and I think we will see more with Peacemaker coming through in like a month's time. Also, just the big three of this movie were so damn perfect. Rachel as Lois Lane is just ferocious in her pursuit of the truth. She's excellent at peeling back the layers of Superman and was instrumental at winning back his favor in the court of public opinion. Nicholas Hoult has inspired a new generation of haters to hate harder, be more petty, and go balder. Legit, he was such a great villain, going to the ends of the earth literally to stop Superman or anyone really that opposed him in any way. The man created a pocket universe for the people that slighted him. He was brilliant, menacing, and diabolical enough to start a war just to have the world on his side to kill Superman. I cannot wait to see Nicholas Hoult as Lex again. I can't wait to see him in Belle Reve and as a leader of the Legion of Doom, because it's all possible now. David Cornsweet is my Superman, and he's the Superman of an entirely new generation. This guy was able to convey such a strength, a charm, and an overall humanity that helped me really latch on to this Superman, and I feel like so many others can feel the same. Look, I liked Christopher Reeve. I respect the legacy he left behind as Superman. Those movies were very much of their time. Brandon Routh seemed promising, but Superman Returns never really caught my ire as a kid. Henry Cavill didn't initially grasp me either, but I was willing to give him the time he needed to be that Superman I was looking for, and although it seems his time as Superman is up, maybe it's never really over. Truthfully, I always thought Superman was cool because of how powerful he was, but I had never gotten into him as much as, say, Batman, because Batman was this mortal guy, this human that stood amongst gods and held his own, amongst a myriad of other reasons why you would have that disposition towards Batman. But it wasn't until I heard that Gunn would be making Superman that I really poured into the Superman lore. I read hella post-crisis 90s comics, which I should have definitely read more Silver Age, but hey, I was really excited because my favorite comic book director, who had taken me on all these journeys before that were funny, action-packed, visually gorgeous, and ones I could always rest assured would include something earnest for my heart, would surely be able to do the same with this character that I know I should have felt that way about in live action a long time ago, and he did. Now, I really try to be as conservative with my bias because I want to be truthful and not hyperbolize shit for engagement, because that's just erosion of the soul type shit. That, amongst with me just being slow and wanting to do a good job, is the reason why this review is so damn late. I liked Superman at first, watched it a couple more times, and ended up really loving it. It's not Gunn's best movie. I think it might be just barely better than Guardians 2, but even that movie is incredible. I still think Thunderbolts is a better film, but I would probably watch Superman more because I liked it more. And Thunderbolts is definitely for a certain mood. I know what kind of music Superman listens to. I know what upsets him. I know what he likes for dinner. He's the Man of Steel, and yet I know he feels as human as I do. He's never been more accessible, and this movie is an exclamation mark on his character, especially the beautiful soundtrack from John Murphy and Dave Fleming. That's why I'm giving Superman a solid 8.5 out of 10. It's not perfect, but it's kind, it's punk rock, and it's oh so human, and it makes me want to be better. I think this movie will age extremely well. I think it'll legit be the Raimi Spider-Man movies for a new generation. We're almost 2 weeks out, and the movie's looking like it's going to cross 400 mil after just 10 days, but more importantly, both critics and audiences like it. People are excited and interested in Superman again. I swear, I saw it the first time, people clapped at the end, then upon the second watch, multiple applauses broke out at several moments in the film. This is exactly what Superman needed, and although a Billy is very much out of the question, I think this will be the ultimate test for not just DC to see how good the legs will be for Superman, but I can see it doing over 700 million, which is good, but also it is a test for Marvel. They finally have competition, so they can't just rest on their laurels. They gotta make good shit every time, or else DC can easily win the leverage if they build up a resume of bangers, which is likely if both studios are dropping new stuff on the same day or in the same week or a week apart. It's gonna be take a chance on a Marvel film or see a guaranteed DCU banger. Iron sharpens iron. All in all, I'm so happy for everyone involved. I can't wait to see David back again as Superman, and I couldn't be more excited for the future. As a fan of comic book movies, as a DCU fan, look up.